Welcome to my proposal for a new type of training simulator for teachers, the Rehearsal Room. So, I was a server throughout my teens and mid 20s. I learned how to manage irate customers, how to keep smiling as everything is burning to the ground around me, and most importantly, I learned how to multitask and juggle a million things at once. At the time, I didn't know these were skills that would help me when I became a teacher. But now, instead of juggling who wants extra sauce with their meal and how to separate the checks for a table of 20, all while my cook is screaming at me that the food for table 11 is ready and getting cold, I'm now instead juggling lesson planning, classroom management, grading, feedback so students can grow, parent communications, and also kind of similar to being a waitress, I wear more than one hat. We're also life coaches and therapists, and much like servers, we're doing all this on one of the lowest wages in the state. But at least as a server, if I worked hard enough while juggling, I could make some really good tips. So, the great masterminds within the Texas Education Agency decided, you know what? If it works for servers, it'll work for teachers. Instead of raising the pay for teachers across the board, they instead implemented the teacher incentive allotment, basically asking teachers to juggle faster and juggle more so that they could get that oh so sweet tip money. So, in other words, this delicate juggling act teachers were already doing just had a huge wrench thrown into the mix. Because, for all intents and purposes, this incentive allotment is based on something that already stressed teachers out: the Texas Teacher Evaluation and Support System, also known as T-TESS. It's composed of 16 different dimensions broken into 4 different categories: planning, instruction, learning environment, and professional practices and responsibilities. These are graded on a scale of 5 different levels: distinguished, accomplished, proficient, developing, and improvement needed. But the real kicker in all of this hair pulling madness is that one of the ways they deem teachers as being proficient is based on a small window of time of about 15 to 20 minutes when a group of assessors are in your classroom watching and judging you. So the stakes are high, right? I mean, this is the difference between continuing to struggle financially in an economy that just seems to keep raising the prices on everything, or being able to breathe and not live paycheck to paycheck anymore. So, how do we improve ourselves? Admin seems to think meetings are the answers. The TEA seems to think PD sessions are the answers. But the problem with this is that all the information they give is based on the perfect classroom and oversimplified, one size fits all suggestions. But we all know every classroom is different and every student is different. And there are definitely classrooms out there that will test your limits and test your sanity. That's just the name of the game. So, how do we get better if more meetings and PD sessions are not addressing the root of the problem? That our classrooms are unique environments with unique students within them. We turn to the way other industries train for unique environments. They use simulations. Specifically, I'm talking about virtual reality simulations that mirrors a teacher's personal classroom with their own personal students within it, acting quite similar to the way they would on a daily basis. The teacher starts by uploading pictures of their classroom into the AI-powered program so that it can recreate their room to its specifics: desk placement, anchor charts, whiteboards, every nook and cranny of the room. Then, the teacher chooses avatars for their students and uploads information about the students: which ones struggle more than others, which ones have behavior problems, which ones are hyperactive, and which ones require accommodations, and which ones tend to get looked over because they're just so quiet. Then, this is where the real growth comes in. They upload the lessons and what types of improvements they are aiming for, those specific metrics they are struggling with, the behaviors they just can't seem to squash, the pacing of a lesson that always seems to run just a little too long, or the challenge of differentiating for every learner. And then they step into their virtual classroom and press start. They can try out the new de-escalation technique or a different way to explain a difficult concept. And if it all goes wrong, if the virtual students get off task and the lesson completely falls apart, you know what happens? Nothing. There are no Yeah, there are no stakes, no bad observation reports, no lost learning time for real students. There's only data, only feedback, the chance to talk it over with an AI coach, figure out what went wrong, hit reset, and try again and again. So that when we walk into our real classrooms for that high stakes observation, it's not the first time that we've navigated that challenge. We've rehearsed it, we've mastered it, and we are prepared. That is the power of the rehearsal room.